Introduce you. Thank you so much for making it a bit earlier for us.
No problem.
You are not in Philippines right now?
No, Thailand.
In Thailand. Okay, so it's the same timing as us. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, no problem.
Okay, cool. So okay, I'll leave the stage to you now. Thank you so much. Okay.
All right. All right. Can we see my screen? Look
Yes,
okay?
Yep, everything we can see.
All right. Let's get this started. Oh, whoops. Not share the link. Present. All right. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ecom Exit Playbook. We can just dive in. So a little bit about me for, I guess, probably don't know many of you. Hello, I'm Nate. I got into selling on an FBA in maybe 2013 or 14, and I sold my FBA business in 2017. Get a little bit more on that later. Since then, I have invested in 4 other businesses, as well as am the host of the Ecom Exits podcast. Aside from business, which I do love business, but I also love other things, including yoga, gym, biking, Burning Man, for those of you that know. I really believe that balance is important for a successful life. And, business being a part of that balance, but there are other important things as well. And now I invest in, acquire, accelerate e-commerce businesses. So today, what we will discuss are the 4 stages to FBA exit success, the 3 Ps that you need necessarily if you want to build a business that you can scale and have an exit from, or both scale and exit. And we're also going to talk about how to sell for a higher multiple. And importantly, we are going to discuss some action steps. And so I love learning and, getting new content, and that's great, but it's all pointless unless we take action. And so built into, as you see in the slides, there are going to be some action items for all of you that are listening that you can take, today and implement to improve your business, help you scale, help you exit, and move through these 4 stages that we'll get to in a little bit. So, and I guess this is, here's actually a screenshot. So rewind a couple of years. And this was one of the more significant events in my life. This was right around when I unexpectedly had the opportunity to exit my FBA business. And so this you see is a Facebook message to a mentor of mine, pretty much telling him, you can see unexpected turn of events. I'm flying to China today to hopefully work out an agreement to sell my business. And as it says, and it's true, like this was all really unexpected. I wasn't planning on selling the business. We really, all of a sudden there was a buyer that was interested. And literally like 3 days later, I was on a plane to China to meet the buyer. Small caveat, I was flying from Vietnam, or I was living in Vietnam. And so, still was quick and hectic, but anyway, so fortunately, was able to get the deal done. And, it was exciting. It was stressful. It was challenging, but was able to complete the business. And that is thanks to the 3 Ps. And so we'll get into more of the 3 Ps later. 3 Ps: people, process, and profit. And so here is a picture of, I think my team at the time that really was able to support me through the successful exit. And if it wasn't for them, as well as our, profit and process, I wouldn't have been able to move forward successfully with the exit. So since then, after I sold the business, it was very exciting and also very confusing. After I sold the business, it's all these really existential questions. What's important? What am I good at? Who am I? What should I do? Where should I go? And I had this idea that I had learned different things from running and successfully selling my business. And I thought that I wanted to get involved as an investor. I thought that I had some good, knowledge and experience to add. And so went out and started sharing my story, trying to find opportunities, went on a bunch of podcasts and interviews and all this kind of stuff. And fast forward, this has turned into, these are 3 of my investments. One is AMZ Pathfinder, my business partner there, Brent, who some of you may be familiar with. That's a Amazon PPC agency. Another one, my friend John, Solo Media Group, Seller Flows. And the thing is, learning and being able to implement the 3 Ps that enabled me to successfully scale and sell my business are exactly applicable and stuff that I've been able to use with the businesses that I have now invested in. And all the businesses they're all growing, they're all scaling, not without some challenges, but, growing certainly, and in an exciting trajectory. And then that also, I guess fairly recently led me to launch my podcast, the Ecom Exits podcast. And that's because I love e-commerce. I love scaling e-commerce. I love e-commerce exits. And that's been a really great opportunity to, learn and connect more. And really, like on the show, I've had the opportunity to interview 8-figure e-commerce businesses, brokers that have sold hundreds of millions of deals, agencies, service providers, finance people, really been amazing insight and has helped me to hone my understanding of, what businesses need to scale, what businesses need to sell. And all of this experience is, gets channeled into now Sellerplex, where we invest in, acquire, accelerate brands, as well as what now I will dive in and share with you all. So without further ado, all right, the Ecom FBA exit playbook. So these are the basic 4 stages. And we're going to go into more detail of all of these, of course. The first stage is traction, getting that first sale. The next stage is the grind and solving for the 3 Ps. And so that's the section that we are going to focus the most on in the presentation, is the grind. So, solving the 3 Ps and really getting from traction to scale. And when your business is scaling, it is growing without you, which is kind of like it's very exciting to get there. The grind is challenging. It's hard to get through, and it takes time and work, and it's not easy. But when you get through it, that's, when it really gets fun and exciting. And then, of course, last but not least, we'll talk about the exit. And, the difference between FBA business that can exit for a 2x multiple versus a brand that can exit for a 4 to 10x multiple. So, all right. So first, traction, your first sales. So this is honestly, getting traction is that's not really my area of expertise. There are a lot of great courses, material. I mean, I know you're a part of a program in a community that, tells you how to get started, how to get your first sale. And I mean, I have been and am able to do that with my businesses, but yeah, I'd say my specialty is really coming in the next section. And so, I know there have been a lot of great speakers that talk about getting your first sale, and, kind of getting that first fit. And, something to kind of think about with the traction side is, it's about finding your first customers. And so, so many startups, they fail because maybe they've got a great product, but no customers. And that's one benefit of selling on Amazon is, where the customers are that you're targeting. They're clearly on Amazon. I mean, the Amazon model, the FBA model is, it's an amazing model. It simplifies so many, parts to allow you to get traction. What channel to focus on, the steps and the strategies to get those first sales. And, in this traction phase, the first sales, this is a very exciting stage. It's very exciting. It's hectic. I remember when my FBA business was first taking off, our first products were selling and this was exciting, and some were selling really good. And, I was also going crazy, like maxing out my credit cards to be able to pay for inventory, staying up late. I was in Asia at the time, and I have, calls at night to talk to my freight forwarder in California and try to connect them with my factory in China, and waking up early to do calls with America and late. And very exciting, but also hectic. And it's the necessary first step, getting that traction, getting those first sales that can then allow you to move into the next phase. So the grind phase. So this is a quote that I think is pretty accurate. I might be confusing a word or so, but I remember hearing it and it really stuck with me, saying, I would rather work 100 hours a week for myself than 40 hours a week for someone else. And so I think this really, speaks to a lot of entrepreneurs that, work so hard. They'll, literally like work 10-hour days, 7 days a week, to build their dreams. And, I don't know. This certainly resonated with me as, some of you, I'm sure, ambitious, hardworking, resonates with you as well. To be honest though, I've got to say that I, like I was saying before, talking about balance, like this is not what I want for myself. To be an entrepreneur, I want to have freedom. I want to have balance. I don't want to work 100 hours a week, to be honest. But, when you're in that traction phase and you're first getting traction, you can fall into it. I know I fell into it. You're working all the time. And so yeah, the point of this grind phase is to, get through this. The goal isn't to work 100 hours a week for yourself. The goal is to be a business owner, have a team, have systems, have process, delegate things, work on the business, not in the business. And that's what we will be diving into now. So, like I said, the three things that you need in order to have a business that you can scale and or sell. So these are requirements for both. You need to have process, people, and profit. So let's dive into each of those. So first, we're going to talk about process. And the reality is that you cannot scale or sell a business that's dependent on you to run. And this makes total sense. If the business grows, and that each time the business grows, that means more work for you, then you're going to have a cap. You only have so many hours, and yeah, you don't want to grow a business that is directly related to the amount of time, or grows directly related to the amount of time that you put in. And also, if you want to sell a business, you know, it can't be dependent on you. How is somebody going to take over this, you know, revenue profit generating machine that you're ideally building? You know, if you're the one who's fulfilling orders, you know, how could somebody else, you know, buy that? I mean, you need to get the right processes in place so that the business is not dependent on you. So some of the process things, this means systems, this means organization, this means SOPs, standard operating procedures, this means documentation. And so let's dive into what some of those things are, because these are, you know, people hear SOPs and systems, and I know that can be a little bit intimidating, but really it's not. Like, we don't need to overcomplicate things. Simple is okay. And so, you know, one system that I recommend everybody have is just a vitals login sheet. And so having, you know, one document with all of your login information to keep everything in one place. You know, this is a small but important document that you have and you can put together for your business so that when you hire your first employee or when you onboard your next employee, you have one central place where they can get this information that's not dependent on you. Moving on, so this is a sample of a SOP for creating a seller support ticket. Obviously not a full SOP, but, you know, with these SOPs, it's just, and again, we don't want to overcomplicate things. It's just a instruction or a record of how to do, you know, how to do certain things in running your business. So this could be, you know, contact Amazon support, you know, place inventory reorder, set up a shipment, add a new product, do keyword research, handle customer service. You know, all these things are core, you know, core processes that you need in order to run your business. And every process that you have, you want to have some sort of documentation and support for. A quick tip and something that I personally like to use is, so I'm not very good, or nor do I enjoy actually like creating SOP documents. So like, you know, even this document was put together by my team, not me. I'm much better at and much more comfortable recording video. So things like this, recording video, talking, explaining it's easier for me. And so a tip that I use that you can use is create Loom video SOPs. And so, you know, for whatever task you are creating the SOP for, record a Loom video, and then you can send that to your team and have them create the documentation. So that's what I did, is I create a video explaining, hey, here's how we do this. And then the team will actually create the document. So, all right. At the beginning, I promised this would be action oriented. And so your action is create some SOPs. So here are some examples. It could be a master product list with all your product information in one place, customer service SOP, PO reorder process, weekly reorder reports. Create something. So I want all of you to leave this, you know, again, with some actions, take action, improve your business. So create an SOP. All right, next, moving on to one of my favorite sections. I mean, I really enjoy all of these sections, but this is talking about people. And so, again, as some quote, I forget where it came from, but it's like the CEO's greatest challenge is finding and retaining the right talent. And so that last section, we talked about getting the business organized, getting SOPs so you can delegate. And now let's talk about getting the people that you can hire to delegate the work to. So first, I want to start this at a high level. So this is a example organization design, a high level org chart. And this is something that is, pretty much all businesses can fit under this overall model. You've got at the bottom, sales and or marketing, operations, finance, HR. Those are kind of the traditional three buckets. Then above that, you have a general manager or a COO, a chief operating officer. And then at the top, you have the CEO. And so your goal is to be the CEO and not any of those other roles. And so important to understand when you're starting, if it's just you, you're going to fill all of these functions, and that's okay. But your goal is to be the CEO and have other people fill these functions so that you can focus on the high level business direction and you have the team to execute. So for an FBA business, this is how I organize my business. Feel free to borrow this or adapt it to make it your own. But yeah, for FBA, I think a general org chart is going to look like new product development, supply chain, Amazon marketing, and finance. Then the GM and the CEO. And so, yeah, and again, important to when you're starting, you're going to do all of these things and that's okay. But what I want you to take away is the awareness and understanding that even if you are one person and you're doing all of these things, you want to understand and be able to identify the different buckets of roles, what you're doing. So, you're paying vendors or paying salary or reviewing your profit, that's a finance function. You're designing a new product and working with the factory on producing it, that's new product development. You're, coordinating orders to get them from your factory to Amazon, there's supply chain, et cetera. And so keeping in mind, the different buckets of the activities that you're doing, and that's going to allow you to draw your own org chart, as well as to then later, find people to fill those roles. Because, a challenge for entrepreneurs, I know for me, is, naturally as entrepreneurs, we do many things. We're expert generalists, right? You start the business, it's you, and you're doing all the roles. And that's a special talent for us entrepreneurs. But you got to understand when you're hiring, most people don't function like that. Most people are, they've got what they're good at. They like to do what they're good at. And those are the best roles for them. And so when you're hiring, it's better to hire, specialists as opposed to expect that you'll be able to hire someone who can do everything like you can. So a quick, note on hiring now. And so I don't have time to get into all the details, but later, if you want to, opt in for the slides, I think what we can share our more built out hiring funnel. But what I want you to take away is when you're hiring, think of this as a funnel. This is, what I've used for my businesses. And and just for context, I mean, with the 5 businesses that I'm a partner in, we've probably got, 60 team members or 50, 60 around. So the teams, they've hired a lot of people over the years. I've hired over 100 easily, probably hundreds. And this is what I found to be the best. And so you want to break it up into a funnel. You have the job post that should include initial questions. Then the ones that respond well to the first round, you got to send them follow-up questions. The ones that respond well to the follow-up questions, send them a test project. The ones that successfully complete the test project, then you get on the interview. And the thing is, I know this is more, time consuming and takes more time to set up than you just, ask a question and ask people to respond. But when you do it this way, it's going to take more time and effort to set up this process. But one, it can be automated. And two, when you follow this process, it's going to significantly increase your chances and opportunities to find better people and keep better people. So highly, highly recommend, when you're hiring, you want to build your hiring funnel. All right. So the action item for this section is to create your org chart like we spoke about before, and feel free to just rip mine off and then fill it, with the first org chart. You will be the one in each function. I mean, assuming if you're solo for now, you will be the first one you will be the only one in the org chart. But you want to, think about it and build the business so that, you're not going to be the only one doing all the roles. And so that's the importance of having the org chart, seeing your business from that higher level vantage point. And create a hiring funnel to get the right people to then start to unplug yourself. All right. Take a quick sip of tea. Whew. All right. So now onto the final P. So profit. Profit for a company is like oxygen for a person. So what does that mean? That means that companies need profit to live and survive the same way that people need oxygen. And so this is something that, I and Sellerplex, we've worked with tons of businesses over the last few years that are, shockingly unaware and not on top of their profit. And this is a problem. If you want to have a business you can scale, you want to have a business you can sell, you need to know these things. And so specifically, before that, these two books. So I'm guessing many of you are familiar with Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Normally would, ask you all to raise your hands, but I can't see you. But yeah, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, very popular. So question, curious if any of you are familiar with that other guy, Keith J. Cunningham. So most people aren't, but they should be. So Keith Cunningham is Rich Dad of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So Keith Cunningham is Robert Kiyosaki's teacher. And Keith Cunningham, incredibly successful entrepreneur. Also, that book, highly, highly recommend it to all of you, both books, if you haven't read them. And so in this book, The Road Less Stupid, Keith Cunningham, he talks about this idea called thinking time. And so thinking time is what he teaches, one of the most important activities you can do as an entrepreneur. And what is it? It's simple. It's taking time out of your week, specifically aside, to think, to think and review. So the book, he gives a bunch of different good prompts and questions and things to think about, as well as identifies what he says, one of the most important thinking times that you should be doing, all of you should be doing for your business, whether you're doing $10,000 in sales or 10 million in sales. All of you every month should take out time for reviewing your financials. So this is something that, again, often overlooked. And like new entrepreneurs are the ones that overlook this. Experienced entrepreneurs are all on top of their finances and they're starting with their profit and loss statement. And so Quick caveat, I'm not an accountant, but I've learned, how and why your finances are so important. And, now it's a requirement for any business that I am going to work with or invest in. It's just, you need to be on top of this. And it's not just me. If you want to sell a business, you need to be on top of these things. And what is it for those that aren't aware? So yes, your profit and loss statement, your P&L, also known as your income statement, it shows you for a period of time your revenue minus expenses. And so you've got your revenue, your sales, you've got your cost of goods, which is going to give you your gross profit. And then you have your expenses, your team, your advertising, your admin, your miscellaneous, etc. And that's going to give you your net income. And so this number is important because, for a lot of reasons, but a big one is that is the number that your business is going to get valued at. So if you want to sell one day in the future, which I know many FBA business owners do, it's that net income number that is the basis of what your business is going to get valued at. So the bigger that number is, the more your business is worth. The smaller it is, the less your business is worth. So pretty important. And yeah, the first step is being on top of this and being aware of it. So then once you are aware, there's a lot of stuff you can do to improve it. And we'll get into some more of that later. Next, the other statement that you all should also have is your balance sheet. And so this is different. So your profit and loss shows your business. It's for a certain time period, maybe for a month or for a year. Your balance sheet is built up over time. And so this is, the aggregate of your assets. You can think of your assets as things that are worth money or put money into your pocket. So cash, if you have payables that are owed to you, that's an asset. And then you have liabilities. So that is money that is going out of your pocket. So if you have loans that you need to pay back, or credit cards, or you have a purchase order in progress and you have the balance that's owed to the vendor, that's all a liability. And the difference between this, so your assets minus your liability, is it's called your owner's equity. And so this is important, it's important to be aware of this as a business owner. And especially if you ever want to sell, this is so important because this tells you this is like the foundational health of your business. And so, for example, your profit and loss could show that you made profit of $100,000 in, 1 month. And that's great, of course. But if you look at the balance sheet, and the balance sheet shows that you have $10 million in debt, that's going to make that $100,000 profit. It's going to really change how you view that and how an investor is going to view that, that profit. And so this is it's necessary. If you ever want to sell your business, you're going to need to have your balance sheet. You're going to need to have your profit and loss. These are the two most basic, most fundamental statements that, again, all of you should be having. If you don't have them, send me a message. We can help you get on top of it. But everyone needs to have these. So moving on from that, last but not least, so this one is another super useful tool. And so this is a cash flow projection. And so this one, I remember when I was first introduced to this. So I was fortunate and I hired on my team somebody who's very, a wonderful, amazing finance. She was managing my supply chain and my finance, worked with me for 4 years, amazing woman. And she introduced me to this cash flow projections. And so this is valuable because, in e-commerce, it's such a capital intensive business. And, you have money coming in at different intervals. You have money going out. You make a down payment. then you get a deposit from Amazon, then you pay the balance payment, then you get another deposit from Amazon. Now you pay your freight forwarders and this, and it's just, this schedule of money coming in and out can be complex. And this cash flow projection, cash flow chart, this, turns that uncertainty and craziness into order and control. And so if you've ever, been nervous, wondering, oh, am I going to have enough money in the bank to pay my factory in 1 week or 3 weeks, in 2 months? This is the sheet that is going to, give you clarity and confidence in all of that. And the thing is, when it comes to your finances, the first most important step is awareness. And so I'm not saying that if you put together a cash flow chart, then all of a sudden you're going to not have any, challenging decisions, or your business is always going to be profitable. No, I mean, there's so many other factors that go into it. But what I am saying is, when you put this together, this will give you that clarity. This will give you that insight so that you can see, oh, maybe in 3 weeks or 7 weeks, if you see your opening balance is going to be negative, it's better to know that beforehand so you can take action now to resolve that. Maybe that means you need to get a loan or, refinance some things. The more insight and advance notice you have of that is better. Versus, better this 3 weeks in advance, 5 weeks in advance, versus all of a sudden you go to pay your supplier, you're running low on inventory, you go to pay your supplier, you need them to ship this order ASAP, and you don't have enough money to cover the balance. So that's what we want to avoid, and this is a really valuable tool that can help you to avoid that. So, a very important tactic that I recommend all of you do is ruthless P&L review. And so this is something around when coronavirus was going crazy, I did a bunch of talks about, how to survive the crisis, how to get on top of your finances, how to be on top of your business. And this is one of the key things. And I did this exercise with all of my businesses, and that's in ruthless P&L review. And so the thing is, everything that you cut, all of your expenses that you can cut, that directly adds to your bottom line, adds to your profit, adds to your cash flow. And so this is something I recommend you do every month when you do your thinking time, when you sit down with your P&L and you review your profit, you review your expenses. This is something you should be doing every month. And so what I recommend is you attack the biggest expenses first. So look at your biggest expenses and ask yourself a question. Can you cut it? Can you restructure it? Can you renegotiate it? Everything. Ask the question, do I need it? Is it ROI driven? And when you ask yourself those questions, that can allow you to identify and cut a lot of waste in the business. And this was something that, with all my businesses I did, when things are going well, we tend to get lazy, and our expenses get lazy, and our expenses creep up. And if we want to put ourselves in the best situation to succeed, we can't be running a lazy business. And so really important activity that you all should be doing. And also a kind of last thing on this is do SKU level analysis. So you want to look at your profitability per SKU and look at metrics per SKU, profitability per SKU, ROI per SKU. Look at these things on a SKU level basis, because we worked with a lot of 7-figure plus FBA brands that want to exit. And if you want to have an exit, you need to make sure that all of your SKUs are a worthwhile investment. And you need this because, again, this is what the buyers are going to look at. they're going to look at all of your SKUs. Any sophisticated buyer is going to look at all of your SKUs. Are they profitable? Should you be selling them? Is it worth it? And so better that you do this analysis and take action beforehand so that you don't run into problems when you try to go sell the business and 3 of the SKUs are losing money or are barely profitable, and then the buyer doesn't want them, and now you're stuck in this weird negotiation. And so yeah, be on top of your SKU level analysis, be on top of your profitability, ruthlessly review your P&L. So our action item is review your monthly profit and loss statement. Again, everybody should do this. Everyone should have one. If you don't have one, send me a message. We can get you sorted. If you have one, great, review it. If you don't, please put one together and then review it. All right. So getting towards the end here. So yeah, scale. So this is, once you've gotten through those 3 Ps, you've got your process, you've got your people, you've got your profit, now is when you can scale. You have your automated, predictable cash machine, which is the goal of any business. Which brings us to the question of to exit or not to exit. This is, the answer to this question is very personal and depends on a lot of things. And, I'm not going to tell you what you should do or what's better. That's for you to decide. If you've gotten to this point, congratulations. You've built an amazing business that gives you options. So by solving for those 3 Ps, process, people, profit, it gives you options. If you want to sell the business, congratulations, you can. If you want to hold the business and run it and cash flow it, congratulations, you have that option as well. The point is getting to that stage where you have that as an option. You have the choice and opportunity, and you can decide to do what's best for you and your business or your family. So for those of you that are interested in an exit, let's talk about that. So I found this stat, and again, there's an asterisk. I don't know if that's the exact percentage, but it says 50% of e-commerce income comes at an exit. And so again, I don't know if it's exactly 50% or whatever, but the point is a lot of your income, your personal income from running an e-commerce business is likely going to come when you have an exit event. And that's because, those of you that have gotten to that traction stage, have a successful product, have multiple successful products, that running an e-commerce business is expensive. You're making more sales. You got to buy more inventory. You launch a new product. That's all out of pocket. Now that's making more sales. Now you got to buy more inventory. Now you expand to a new channel. It's very expensive and needs a lot of cash to operate. And so, a way to get a lot of that cash into your pocket is through an exit. And so, some quick stuff on how to understand your exit. And so your exit, it's a formula. And so this is what that formula looks like. On one hand, you have your SDE, that stands for seller discretionary earnings, which is just another name for profit. So your profit is determined by the finances that we talked about, getting your profit and your P&L, your balance sheet, and your profitability. Obviously, you want to be profitable. So you have your profit, your SDE, and then that is going to get multiplied by a multiple. And so what determines your multiple is going to be a combination of things based off of transferability. So transferability is what we talked about with process and people. And so the easier a business is to transfer to a new owner, that is going to contribute to your multiple. How diversified the business is, how many sales channels, how many products, what kind of moat you have, that's going to contribute to your multiple. The size of the business, the assets in the business, who the buyer is it, is it a cash buyer? Is it, private equity buyer? Is it a strategic buyer? All of those things are going to contribute to your sale, the multiple that gets added on to your profit. And then that's going to get you to your exit, and a couple different routes. You can use a broker, the FBA broker, FE International, Quiet Light, Empire Flippers, M&A advisory, or go about selling it yourself. If you have more questions on any of this, yeah, a lot of these things we can dive into more, but recommend my podcast, talk about all this stuff in much more detail. So want to talk about a little thought experiment for you, for those of you that are aiming for an exit. So let's look at first an FBA business. And so I say an FBA business is going to be selling primarily on Amazon. FBA is the main sales channel, or the only sales channel. Let's say you're doing 1 million revenue with $300,000 profit. The assets that you have are basically your FBA listings, maybe your supplier relationships a little bit, but it's really your FBA listings is the assets. So for a business at this size, you're probably going to sell for a multiple of around 2.5x. And so a business, if you're doing 1 million revenue, 300 profit, then your sale price will be $750,000. If that's good or bad, that's, up to you and your goals, but that's, a fairly, we're generalizing, but that's going to be fairly accurate. And then let's look at a Ecom brand. And so when I say Ecom brand, we'll get into some of the differences in a second. Let's say the revenue is, you've tripled your revenue to 3 million. You've tripled your profit to 1 million. And now your sales channels are FBA. You're selling through Facebook funnels. You've got some AdWords campaigns, and you're using affiliates. So much more diversified, more sales channels. Obviously, the revenue is higher as well. Let's look at your assets. You've got your FBA listings. You have your customer list from your e-commerce sales. You have your marketing funnels. You have your list of affiliates that you work with. You've got your AdWords campaigns. Quite a bit more in terms of assets. So a business at this size, you're going to get closer to a 5x multiple. Honestly, it could even be higher. I'd say like a 4 to 6x multiple on this business. And so that is going to be, at this business, this example, $5 million sale price. And so your FBA business that you have 1,300,000 profit, if you triple the size of the business, you're going to 6x your exit price. And this is a combination of all these factors. It's a bigger business, more diversified, more assets, and, $750K sale price versus 5 mil. 5 mil, you never have to work again. 750 is great, but you're not done making money. And so, and again, what you want to do is up to you. I just want to present these as thought experiments for you, and just to give you an understanding of what these exits look like with some of these different factors that we've been, talking about through this presentation. So back to the question, to exit or not to exit. Again, this is up to you. And the thing is, if you build the business right, you solve for those 3 Ps, you have options, you've got a great business, you can hold it, you can sell it, you can keep growing it. It's really, at that point, you have options, you have choices, it's up to you. So for those of you that want to crush your 3 Ps on the way to automated growth or exit, happy to offer you with my team a free strategy session. So happy to do a free strategy session for any of you that are interested, as well as if you want to get these slides and my actual hiring funnel that I use to hire people. You can opt in at sellerplex.com/EXW for the slides, for more content. And if you want to chat, you can set something up there. So that is it for now. Happy to connect. Add me on Instagram. Shoot me a message. Let me know what you think. You got my Facebook, got my email, again, where to get the slides. And yeah, like I was talking about at the beginning, I love business. I love speaking. I love sharing. I love helping. I also love yoga. I also love Burning Man. And, if you're into those things as well, happy to connect. So yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you, Ned. Thank you so much. So what happened now is we're going to do a Q&A. We have 2 questions over here. So Ned, can you see the questions over there?
Whoops.
First question, how do you define traction?
Yeah. So, traction, I'd say it's getting that first, product market fit. And so with FBA businesses, traction, I would say is, getting your first sale. More than your first sale, it's like knowing that you have something to double down on. And so for my business, for example, when we were starting, when we were growing, my first product, it was a moderate success. It was making a couple sales or a couple sales a day or this or that. It was doing okay, but it wasn't until my second product that I launched, that one, I thought we were going to make, 10 sales a day or 20 sales a day were a success. All of a sudden it's making 10 sales, 20 sales, 30 sales, 50 sales, 80 sales. All right. That's when you have traction with the product.
Okay.
So yeah.
Next question.
All right.
Since we are not in US, our FBA business is set based on our country. That means because Wang is in Malaysia. So
right. Yeah. So it's okay. Like, the putting together your profit and loss statement in your balance sheet, it's the same whether you're in the US, whether you're in Malaysia, whether you're in Singapore. Those are just like basic financial, documents and understanding. And so yeah, you want to, every business wants to be on top of this. And then the thing is, there's different advantages or challenges, and maybe many of your students or the audience here, you could be in Malaysia or Singapore or wherever, and still have a US LLC. A lot of people use a US LLC even if you're from anywhere in the world. But I guess to answer the question, the financials and the statements and everything is the same. It doesn't matter if the company is in Malaysia or this or that. Other things can be affected, that we can, kind of a long answer of other things that could be affected depending on where you decide to incorporate. But, the financial stuff that I was discussing is going to be the same regardless.
Okay. Next question. Why they can grow without you?
Yeah, so this is a good question. And the answer is it's really individual. There's a lot of different reasons why people sell a business. One of them is cash and income. And so, like we talked about, FBA businesses or e-commerce businesses, they can be very expensive. And so just, a growing e-commerce business, it doesn't mean that there's a lot of, profit coming into your pocket. Things take time, and so for my business, and one of the reasons that I sold, we had a lot of good systems and process and people and all this. And, I'll be honest, like I got a good offer, and so I took it. So, that's why I sold my business. I still have the understanding and my experience and knowledge. And so yeah, that's a reason you have you get a good offer. Another common reason why people would sell is, even if it's automated, is they just, they have a new project that they're more excited about, and they just want to get this business, they just want to move on, get their cash. And then also, you can have an automated business. It's like, but you still want to be forecasting for the future, and maybe the business it's running without you, and that's great. But if you see on the horizon, you think your category is going to get more crowded, or you see something and profit's going to go down, that can be a reason to sell as well. And so again, it's up to the person. Another one is if they all of a sudden they need the money. Happens for a variety, tons of reasons. Maybe the family needs the money, or they need the money for this or that. So yeah, I mean, those are some of the reasons why people would sell, but ultimately it's a very personal decision.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of like digital nomad. They just sell and then they go for another business, and they're just so happy, traveling everywhere.
Yeah, totally. There's a lot, and when you sell, you can just start another business, if you want. So yeah.
One question, when you sell the business, is it a company, or can a personal account be sold?
Yeah. So there are two different types of when you're selling the business. There's two different ways that it can be done. It is going to be an asset sale, or I'm thinking stock sale, but I think that's technically what it's called. I could be wrong. Asset or stock sale. The difference between the two. So one of them is where you're buying the assets of the business. So for an FBA business, that is going to be basically the Amazon listings is what you're buying. Those are the assets. And then in a stock sale, I think that's what it's called, you're buying the actual company. So you're buying like the LLC. And there are different benefits and tax implications of both. My understanding, it's most common with FBA businesses that it's an asset sale. So you're just selling the listings and the assets. They're not actually buying the company that owns those assets. I don't remember. I mean, I'm not remembering all of the specific differences or advantages between buying the company or just buying the assets. But I think for different reasons, it's like more common is the asset sale.
Okay. One last question, if you don't mind. One last question. Yes. It's a bit long.
Yes. Let's see. What about SOP as CEO? Can everyone see the question, or do I need to read it out loud?
Do you want me to read it out?
No, I can read it. Can everyone else see it? Is the question.
Can see it, yeah. You did read it.
Cool. Yeah. So yeah, good question. And so the answer, like many things, is it depends. And so, with this, it really depends on who the buyer is. And so if you're selling a FBA business, or you're selling any business, there are going to be different types of buyers. And so, for Amazon, for FBA businesses, if it's a smaller business, so let's say you're selling, less than 500K, or, maybe less than a mil, or less than 1.5 mil. Often the buyer is going to be what is known as a financial buyer. And so a financial buyer would be someone maybe like me. So, all right, me, I've got some cash. I want to buy a business. all right, the business is $500,000. Here's 500 grand. And now I'm buying the business and I'm going to run it, and I'm going to run it for the, for that cash flow. So it's an investment that it's an investment that the investor is making in the business, for that cash flow. And so if me as an individual, if I'm buying the business, then yes, having, a CEO SOP or, getting trained in how to run the business and how to be the CEO, that could be valuable, definitely. But let's look at some other types of buyers. So, let's say it is a private equity firm. And so there are a growing number of Amazon-focused private equity firms that, they're buying a ton of Amazon businesses. And so they can be buying them from, a couple $100,000 to a couple $1 million. And these businesses, they know how to run Amazon businesses. They have their own systems, their own processes. They just want your listings basically. And so for them, your growth plans or how to run your business matters a lot less than for the financial buyer, because, the private equity firm, they're plugging you into all their other businesses and their systems. And so it's less important. And so yeah, I mean, I guess the short answer is that it really depends on, it depends on who the buyer is. I think it's good practice to have a GM who is running the business. I mean, that's going to be the easiest sell, is if you're able to say, okay, here's the business, GM included, processes included. If you can just allow someone to come in and take it over and plug them into the CEO role and everything else is sorted, that is, that's going to give you more options when you sell. And the thing is also, and I mean, specifically about, do you need an SOP for CEO? I mean, like, it can be useful to have, to give advice or have a growth roadmap of how to grow the business or how you would run the business. That can be useful for the new buyer, but also part of it is like, they will have their ideas and, they want to buy the business for whatever plans that they have. And so yeah, I mean, you don't need to, and I mean, and I guess, maybe you don't need to have the CEO SOP, but there could be some training that you provide for the new owner. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways or a lot of different things included in this. I hope that I know that was a long-winded answer. I hope that gives some perspective that's useful.
Thank you so much, Ned. Thank you so much. Your presentation is really one of a kind.
Hey.
I'm not before. And I have learned so much from you today as well. I think your presentation is one of the one that I really learned a lot. Thank you so much for your help. Yeah.
Also, just got one more question. Should we answer? It's kind of a fun one.
Is more question? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Our time is okay. We'll do the last one. Is it okay?
All right. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
So this one, thank you, whoever asked it. So the question is, if everyone can see, if you want to grow aggressively, would you recommend being the buyer of the business? And so this is something that I am personally very interested in. And the short answer is, yes, definitely. Like, growth by acquisition is a very, that's a strategy that a lot of, aggressive and experienced business owners can take. And so, if you want to go that route, growth by acquisition, building your business still in the way that I talked about, the 3 Ps, process, people, profit, that is going to allow you to, when you have your business organized in the systems, if you want to go out and now, be the acquirer, when you have that infrastructure in place, that's going to allow you to get more value. And so, building your business first with the different foundational pieces that we talked about, then if you want to go out and acquire a business, now you have leverage, you have a team, you have processes that you can take over to, run the new business, run it better, grow it faster, make it more profitable. So I think is very interesting. You certainly worth exploring. And I think it's just like a really exciting topic and opportunity.
Which part of Thailand are you at now?
I'm in Chiang Mai. Thailand actually. We're going into phase 3 of reopening on Monday. So it's
Yes, Singapore is the same thing as well. Okay. Thank you so much for your presentation. I'll catch up with you soon, man.
Yeah, this was great. Thanks for having me. Enjoy.
Watch out for Ned's interview. I have an interview with Ned also. It should be out in the next 2 weeks. And his segment today will be in my YouTube channel as well. Okay? Thank you so much. See you then.
Thanks, guys.